Merry Christmas, everyone. Did you get all your gifts? I did. I got a snowball microphone from my computer. I haven't had it properly set up yet, but I will once I learn how to do it. Anyway, now onto the video. After 12 installments, we had finally made it. We now come to the final video of the original I Love Toy Trains series. And it was a 45-minute special that contained some more train segments, plus Jeff's retrospective on the past TM videos that he was featured in. So without further ado, let's have a look at it, and see how this video can make the series go out with a bang. In this video, we revisited Richard Kugh's fabulous car rail. This segment had coincided with the release of Richard Kugh's car rail video by TM, plus his second layout that operates the modern-era Lionel OO gauge trains in it. In this segment, we get to learn about the history and biography of Richard Kughn and how he became the owner of CarRail and the CEO of Lionel itself. It was really worth learning about the biography during his life and how his love of trains made a lasting impression on him. And he was the guy who had saved Lionel Trains by improving everything in the market by providing the models and accessories with modern technology and better quality. Richard was a godsend to the Lionel company. We also get to listen to this kick-ass jazzy tune on the Wurlitzer jukebox called Crosstown by Valentino, which we previously heard it from I Love Toy Trains Part 9. It's a tune that I would be snapping my fingers and vibing along to as I work, play, and groove. It is also a great jazzy tune to play at the prom or ballroom dance party. Now, is it just me, or Jeff sounded a little different in here? He actually hit puberty from the last video, and now he sounds like he's getting a little older. I guess that's why they need to put the I Love Toy Train series to an end since he's growing up. Anyway, Jeff sounded very mature in this video. I really like hearing his voice.
Plus a lot more, so let's get started. As always, we open with a song.
We saw some funny blooper segments with a barrel loader and log loader, and then we saw some cool segments with a fancy modern scale Lionel trains pulling into the station like the Texas Special, the Santa Fe, and the Dreyfuss Hudson. The visuals in all of these segments were so beautiful and amazing. TM had put their all into their craftsmanship once again to create some of the best shots on their layout, just like what David Mitton did with the sets from Thomas the Tank Engine. They remind me of the passenger trains at the station during the 1930s. That one segment with the Dreyfuss Hudson gave me some chills and excitement. I always dreamed of riding a big fast passenger train pulled by a steam locomotive.
Out to party, 20th Century Limited. All aboard!
New York Central 5452, you are clear outbound.
Back on Roosevelt.
The song Come Right Along With Me is one of my personal favorite James Coffey songs. We previously heard it before in the special edition tape of I Love Toy Trains' Parts 1, 2, and 3 from 1997, and now we're listening to it here again in the final show. Since this was James Coffey's very first song from his very first album, it's really lovely to hear it again. And it's good too, since this is the final I Love Toy Trains video. For now. And all we need is the first ever song made by James Coffey, since it's one of his popular songs.
We will go
Previously on I Love Toy Trains 12, they talked about the Marklin HO/Lionel OO layout, and they said at the end of the segment, they're going to show us how the layout is being built. Well, here it is. We see the construction on the lower level of the layout, where we'll be seeing some more loops of track and some trains to run around the Lionel OO layout table. Ralph and Tom Whistle both had done a good job on fleshing out the layout that is originally built for the Century of Lionel video and give it some more life to it. Here's how they done it step by step. First step, they attached the shelves to the 2x4 framework by drilling them in and laid out some track around it to prepare for the scenery and landscape. They made sample curves to the corner of the table and then cut them out so they can match, and then added some homosode around the shelves of the layout. Second step, to make the hills or cliffs by adding the foam core all around the sides of the table, including styrofoam strips done by a hot knife and a rough mixture of plaster to provide the texture for the hills. Then they spray painted it and added some trees and shrubs to it. Third step, to make the tunnels. For the tunnels, they cut out a 1/4 inch plywood for the portals and shaped a mountain out of some chicken wire. Then they draped it over with some heavy-duty paper towels mixed into the plaster. To make the curves in every corner and side of the layout, they used strips of newspaper dipped into the plaster, and then they used a 3-inch block of styrofoam to the edge of the table and shaped it out with a hot knife. After the plaster's been dry for 24 hours, it was now time to paint them. Fourth step, to make the viaduct. On the other side of the layout, the viaduct and suspension bridge will be both installed here. In order to make them, they cut out a 30-inch gap in between the 12-inch shelves. When that's cut out, they laid a plank of wood for about 12 inches to the bottom. Then they put in slabs of styrofoam around the section of the layout and shape out the sides with a hot knife. For the texture, they used some plaster again to spread all around the gap, and then they spray painted it with some flat earth tones. Then they placed the two viaducts together into the gap and suspension bridge on top of it. And the fifth and final step was very simple. Add a lot of trees, shrubbery, ground cover, and other scenery around the layout as much as possible. And voila! Your HO layout is now complete. Set up those trains and let them begin to run. They added some final touches or modifications to it by carving out a tunnel of the 2x4 layout and add a 4th loop of track to run around some more trains. They'll be running underneath the table on a 1x4 plank of wood. That's really cool. The fun part about this layout is to add different backdrops from behind to change how the layout looks. I like the specific Rocky Mountain backdrop the best. This segment would be a good tutorial on how to build an HO layout. Try one at home, and maybe ask your parents or friends if they can build one with you. We then see this segment where Jeff gets to show us his favorite parts from the first 12 I Love Toy Trains videos for the last 10 years. Some of them that I really like, and to some people, they were their favorites too, like the blooper segments, the I'm a train scene, the duck jokes, the look out kitty, here comes a train bit, the dinosaur scene, and many others throughout the showcase of clips. This is really cool to look at. As for me, there's too many to count. I don't know where I would even begin, but if I could pick out what were some of my favorite parts from the I Love Toy Train series, then I do have a lot here to show you all. My favorite parts were the funny bloopers, the Fred Holstein music, the duck jokes, and even a bear, old number 7, the circus music from part 3, the songs from the Peter Pan sing-along soundtrack, the James Coffey music in general, the dinosaur segment, the alien segment, the Freedom Train, the Streamliners, and even some steam locomotives, both real and toy. I've got so many of them. Remember how back in part 8 when I thought Elmer was a sentient Hiawatha steam locomotive? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you a lot, but it turns out that he's actually just another incompetent railway employee. That's a shame. In this segment, the control tower told him that he delivered all of his freight to the wrong town of Pottsville by mistake, and Elmer needs to go back to Pottsville to pick up all of his freight from all the facilities and deliver them quickly to Spotsville. This is yet another one of these funny TM segments, but the loading of the freight can drag on for a little bit too long. Well, at least Elmer did try his best.
Oh no!
In Part 12, they talked about the American Freedom Train from 1976 in honor of America's 200th birthday. However, the first American Freedom Train is the Spirit of 76 from 1947, headed by an Alco PA-1 diesel. It was launched as soon after World War II was over, and where Harry Truman had become the 33rd President of the United States, succeeding Franklin Roosevelt. However, I heard some pretty controversial things about the Freedom Train that the video hasn't addressed. I know this is only a kid's video, but let me explain. This Freedom Train was intended to show Americans the glory about the United States of America by exhibiting its history of their greatest achievements and the principles and ideologies of America in terms of freedom and liberty, and remind them about their rights as being American citizens. But according to Train of Thought, it instead became the opposite of that. What do I mean by that? Well, being more of an American propaganda train than a freedom train. The American ideals were just shoved right into your face. Instead of letting the population choose whatever they want to do, the rights had manipulated them on what they wanted to do. Like in some states, they segregate whites and blacks together as they board the train, or remove collective bargaining from the workers' rights. It's ironic that it's called the Freedom Train because one little detail that the country has ignored is to provide liberty to their population, and collective bargaining has been tossed aside from the workers' rights bill. It just comes off as a little discriminatory. If there's one good thing that the Freedom Train had done, is to show everyone the artifacts and documents inside the mobile exhibit cars, for at least 3 seconds. For Jeff thinking that the Freedom Train is a good reminder about our freedom, I'm sorry, but I think not. Again, I know this is only a kid's video and shouldn't be brought up in here, but I just found out about it. Not because I was tired of America for its pompous, overinflated patriotism, although I usually am, but because it had overlooked a few details that really needed to be fixed so they can both give justice to them. At least the two on what I know of. The 1976 Freedom Train does display some artifacts, documents, and other things inside the mobile exhibit cars and cruises around the country to show many people about the best of the USA, but at least they're sincere about it and it wasn't propaganda. That's because it was established after the country had abolished the racial segregation law and added in the collective bargaining right to the workers' rights bill. I'm glad that I wasn't alive in the 1940s because it would be a rough time for me. I think it was clear to me that the 1976 Freedom Train was better, with the Southern Pacific 4449 in it. We see another amazing Lego layout since the last one we saw back in Part 7. It looks really cool. I do like the detail on the locomotives with both the steam engines and diesel engines, and the trolley running around the bandstand and Christmas tree. And even some Lego Star Wars figures on top of the boxcar and gondola. It reminds me of how I used to love Star Wars back then as a kid, and especially Lego Star Wars, which I used to play the games on the Nintendo GameCube or Wii back then. By the way, where's this layout at? Oh. Since this year is the 30th anniversary of TM, we finally get to have a tour on what's been going on behind the scenes at the studio. Although it really wasn't at a headquarters power plant building. Nice try, TM. That's just a joke to fool us that their layouts were filmed there. The real studios were at a barn around Michigan City, Indiana, next to where the I Love Toy Trains store was at. We get to see what's been going on behind their videos and how they made them in the process. We see their layouts like their standard gauge layout, high rail layout, pre-war layout, and post-war layout. They'll also be building their upcoming layouts like the HO or S-gauge layouts, plus another O-gauge layout sometime in the future. We'll get there. And this blooper with the GG1 double header cracked me up. I even made it as a meme in Discord. Oh no! Well, this is it. Here is the very final part of the I Love Toy Trains video and the original I Love Toy Trains series. Jeff gets to do a look back on many of the videos that he starred in for nearly 10 years. We saw Jeff coming such a long way in these videos. From his debut in Lionel Christmas to being such a cool and casual kid in the final show like here. We seen a montage of clips that Jeff starred in from the I Love Toy Trains series from parts 5 to 12. Plus some clips from the I Love Big Train series, I Love Cat Machines, and All About Cowboy videos that he starred in. He briefly sums up about the videos on what's been going on during the making of them, and by giving out a little bit of details and comments about these videos based on his personal experience. It's really nice for Jeff to give us a little showcase on his videos. It's a great way to end the final show. And you gotta hear that last line from Jeff. It was really funny.
By the way, does anyone out there know a good agent?
Oh, Jeff. And then we get to hear the last James Coffey song in the I Love Toy Train series called Thanks Again. This song is so emotional and bittersweet. It tells us that the series is about to come to an end, and it was time to move on to other TM series and other projects to come in the future. This song nearly had my tears shed, and I am kinda sad to see this series go. I mean, it really had a good run throughout the last 10 years, but I think it was time to move on and let TM to focus on other projects for a little while before they can get back into, like, this series again. Anyway, this is an emotional send-off to the series, and a really good one. Most heartwarming.
Thanks again from all your small and big train-loving friends for showing us what lies around the bend. I hope someday that we will meet again. So thanks again.
I think the final show was a good send-off to the I Love Toy Train series. After TM had been producing videos of them for over the last 10 years, they finally made this video to give some closure before they can move on. They made some more segments for this video for the last time, and all of them were really good. The blooper segments are funny. It's nice to see the entirety of Richard Kugh's layout and learning about Richard Kugh's biography on his love for toy trains and how he became the CEO of Lionel. The Lionel scale models of the trains with rail sound were a gorgeous sight, and they evoke memories of rail travel back in the day. More information on the Lionel OO and Marklin HO layout, another LEGO layout, looking at what's behind the scenes at TM Books and Video, and their so-called facade of where they filmed their videos at. Ha ha ha, yeah right. And of course, Jeff's look back and retrospective on the videos that he had watched and starred in, which really ends the video on such a heartwarming and emotional note. It was I Love Toy Trains' swan song. And that is the end of the I Love Toy Trains series. So that covers it. We've now completed all 13 of the I Love Toy Trains shows. I'm glad that the series doesn't continue until 2011, because if TM kept making more installments like parts 13, 14, or 15, we end up having an era that is the equivalent of the hit era of Thomas or season 6 to 8 of SpongeBob.
Why,
Ugh. And I'm glad they weren't going to do it because the series had already ran dry. That is until they brought it back in 2011 with All Aboard. But we'll be getting to them next time. So, what am I going to remember this series for? I'm going to remember it fondly for how charming it really was. It was a love letter to the railroads and to trains, both real and toy. I'll remember them for lots of train action, its funny blooper segments, kick-ass music by James Coffey, and Jeff being the awesome host of the show that he is. Some funny and zany segments like the dinosaurs or alien segments, and many of the educational segments that we learned from the videos, like the signals or crossing gates, track maintenance, steam locomotives, diesel locomotives, freight trains, passenger trains, toy trains from different manufacturers, and so much more. They really helped us a lot on learning about trains, and without these videos, we would know nothing about trains. This series was the reason why I love model or toy trains in the first place, just like how Thomas was, and it's what inspired me to make my own series based on them. If we can make some content that is inspired by Thomas, we can make some more I Love Toy Trains inspired content too, and for fun. And it'll be something even Tom McComas will be impressed of. All these videos were absolute gems for me, and for everyone. This series had a special place right at the bottom of my heart. and the original series had just got a little better over time and hadn't dipped in quality once. Although not perfect, it was very consistent on being enjoyable, and that's what made the series so great. It encapsulates everything about trains in the best ways imaginable, and that was the true magic about many of the shows. Thank you, Tom McComas, for making our childhood so wonderful. So there you have it, all 13 of the I Love Toy Train shows. We'll be getting to the Oh No and music video specials next, but until then, have yourselves a very Merry Christmas and enjoy yourselves. So in other words, to be continued. Now if you excuse me, I gotta have a nice Christmas dinner for myself from the leftovers from my Christmas Eve dinner, and watch some Christmas specials as well.
So thanks again from all your small and big train loving friends for showing us what lies around the bend. I hope someday that we will meet again. So thanks again